we're sitting here talking with Carlos Galindo today about purchasing a home south of the border, namely in Baja, Mexico. And Carlos, why don't you start telling us about a few of the advantages, such as the affordability of housing south of San Diego?
Sure, Harry. First of all, thank you for having me on your show here in Tampa. And one of the things that we'd like to talk about today is really the affordability of homes in Baja. Why Baja? You know, right now, as you know, Southern California, especially because, you know, we're borders with Southern California, they're having a huge problem with affordability in housings. The prices are skyrocketing, and also the rents are out of this world. So what we're experiencing right now in Baja, a lot of people are coming down and buying homes. Now, you can ask me, what are the reasons why people are flocking to Baja?
Okay, well, what would be some reasons people in Southern California would want to choose to buy a home south of the border, south of San Diego, namely?
I'll give you a few reasons. One of them, first of all, it's affordability. And most people are looking, you know, for a budget home. But one of the interesting things is, like, I'm going to give you an example. You can purchase an ocean view home. I mean, you can almost actually walk down to the beach, starting at $150,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And from there on, you can go up as high as, you know, $1.2 million. But you have the affordability on the housing, so it's up according to your budget. Second of all, the taxes. The taxes on that property, to give you an example, for the starting home with an ocean view at $150,000, your taxes, you're looking at $150 a month. And on a $1 million home, you're probably looking at no more than $300 a month on taxes.
Okay. What about financing? Is financing readily available to U.S. citizens?
Financing, as a matter of fact, there's such a demand now that you're having people come on board for financing. Right now we have a company out of Monterrey, Mexico, that are starting to do financing for people living in the United States that want to purchase in Mexico. And they'll be able to qualify with the same guidelines that most of the banks in the U.S. are doing. That means two years on the job, debt-to-income ratio, I think it's maybe 40%, and 20% down payment.
Okay, and are the mortgage rates competitive?
The mortgage rates, they're slightly higher, maybe about a point to a point and a half higher than the U.S.
Well, it seems like a pretty well-guarded secret that you can buy an ocean view home for $150,000, 30 minutes from San Diego. As the secret gets out, are those values going up? Well,
I'll tell you what happened this past year. It looks like the secret has come out because we've seen a high increase in property values. They're going up.
Do you have any specific examples?
As an example, like last year there was a house that was sold, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, for $105,000. Now that same house is now $160,000. So that's a huge increase, and it's still very, very affordable. Right. I mean, for an ocean view home.
Okay. What about infrastructure over there? What are the roads like? What's the electricity service like? What's the internet service like if I'm going to be there for a week or so and I have to be online?
You have the highway roads that are maintained along the corridor of Baja, from the border all the way down to Ensenada. And they're maintaining those roads nicely for tourism, because what we have there right now, you have the port of Ensenada, there's a lot of traffic, and also we have the Valle de Guadalupe. Valle de Guadalupe is the wine country of Mexico, and that's, right now it's having an amazing growth. I mean, a lot of influx of tourism, both from central Mexico and from north of the border.
Okay, is electricity reliable over there?
Electricity is, I would say, it's 90% reliable, okay, with the exceptions that once in a while when we have huge storms, once in a while we have, well, it has a tendency to...
We have that problem in the States too. What about internet service?
Internet service is very reliable. Right now, I think they're working on putting the high-speed internet service, fiber optics, and that's up and coming. As we're speaking just now, before I left from Baja, that we're working on it.
Now, Carlos, if I have a U.S.-based cell phone and I go across the border, do I have to get a Mexican SIM card, or does my U.S.-based phone work there without any extra?
No, I think your U.S.-based phone is fine. Right now, aggressively, Sprint, T-Mobile, and Verizon, they have programs for people that live in the border. So in other words, you can dial U.S., Canada, and Mexico just like if you were in the States.
Okay. What about security? We hear a lot of stuff on the news where there's a lot of drug violence going on down there. Can you talk to the security situation where that might be a reason someone may consider not purchasing a home at such an amazing value?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, I think some of the news is very hyped up. We do have those problems in different parts of Mexico. It's really ironic, when something happens in Mexico related to drugs, they mention Mexico, but people don't realize that Mexico is a big country. We have 32 states, so if something happens, let's say 1,000 or 3,000 miles away from the border, they'll say Mexico. In Mexico, this happened. They don't say it happened in Boston or it happened in California, comparing. So you always think that all this is happening throughout, Mexico. But it's not really a big issue. Only the people, I guess, like here in Detroit or New York City, the people that are involved in the drugs will have the tendency to get in trouble with the law. And that's what happens over there too. People that are in that type of business will get in trouble.
Now, what about going back and forth from your property? When I think of crossing the border, I look at these images of these huge lines of cars where, if I want to go for a weekend, I don't want to be lined up for 3 or 4 hours to cross the border back into the United States. What do you say to address some of those concerns?
Well, Harry, what's happened over the past, I think there's a program over the past 15, 20 years. It's called the Sentry Program. And this is people that live in the borders, San Diego and Tijuana. They're allowed to cross, with the Sentry Program. And the average time, I would say 20 minutes to cross the border. Now, on holidays or something where we get a lot of traffic from the U.S. coming into Baja, maybe the highest you'll experience is maybe 30, 35 minutes delay. And the fastest that you can cross the border with this Sentry Pass, and by the way, you can also use your Global Pass to cross the border, it'll be 10, 15 minutes. So that's really not an issue.
Sounds like a fast pass to Universal Studios. You don't have to
Absolutely.
line up. What would something like that cost me?
It'll cost $100 plus the inspection for your car. So you're looking at about $140, and it's for a 5-year period.
Okay, and what do you mean by the inspection for your car?
Well, basically, they'll do an inspection to make sure your windshield wipers work. In other words, that your car is reliable and does not represent any hazardous, to the roads in the U.S.
Okay, what if my car is a U.S.-based car that I just drive back and forth to my home in Baja, and do I need any kind of inspection?
Absolutely not. That's no problem. And as a matter of fact, also, I might just add that your insurance covers you. I think it's 50 miles inland into Baja. So you're pretty much covered.
So really, in a nutshell, what you're saying is you can buy a house for around $150,000 with a view of the ocean, close enough to the water to where you probably don't need a whole lot of air conditioning because it's the same climate as San Diego on the beach.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because one of the things that as far as utilities is concerned, since we have that amazing weather like San Diego, we don't have air conditioning in the homes there. So it maintains a pretty nice yearly weather. We have more or less an average, I would say, about 72 degrees. And so consequently, my utility bills, or I wouldn't use mine, but as an example, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, 1,200 square feet probably would run you no more than $40 every 2 months. and that's on electricity. Water probably runs you about $15 a month, and we do have to buy propane there. You know, we don't have gas pipes that run underneath the homes and stuff like that, but propane is also pretty inexpensive.
All right, well, Carlos, thanks a lot for sharing your insights into purchasing property south of the border. If someone wants more information, what would you recommend they do?
Well, you know, they can get in touch with me at my telephone number is
We'll put it on the end of the video.
okay, at Mexico Real Estate Services, and we'll be there to serve you.
Okay, and do you work with other real estate agents in Southern California?
Absolutely, absolutely. As a matter of fact, we work with NAREB. This is the National Hispanic Association of Professional Realtors. We work with them, and also with different other brokers, you know, RE/MAX, Keller Williams, etc.
All right, well, Carlos, thank you very much for your time today.
Hey, Harry. Well, it was a pleasure having me here, or as you might say, you having me here. But thank you so much, and I really love Tampa.
All right.